Screams from the blackest depths of tortured souls pierce the fetid air of a claustrophobic, darkened room. A man recently released from jail for stabbing his mother over 30 times throws himself to the floor, roaring out his rage and existential agony at a god who abandoned him. Another runs razor blades across their skin, opening their flesh to expose the bone below, sobbing in pain and screeching in hatred at the world, their voice colliding with walls of harsh, brutal electronic noise. This is not fiction. This was a recording session. Welcome to the WEIRDNET. In the year 2000, a project was started by a group of Dutch and Belgian musicians to, in their words, transform pain and fear into sound. This would produce what they called nihilistic, misanthropic audio terror. Predominantly from the black metal and noise scenes, group members found that, even in their most depressive and suicidal forms, their usual genres were unable to portray the constant despair and mental anguish they often tried to communicate. They wanted something that would awaken and strengthen misanthropy, terror, nihilism, and a real hatred for life and humanity in anyone who listened to them. This was no posturing or posing. Through their audio invocations, their ultimate intention was to bring about a global holocaust. Named after the German concentration camps of World War II, the word Stalag immediately evokes misery, tragedy, pain and suffering. The additional GH at the end of the name stands for Global Holocaust, which, as I've mentioned already, is actually their ultimate intention with the entire project. This alone may seem shocking to some, but believe me, it gets worse. The answer to the question of who Stalag actually are is that nobody really knows. There's plenty of speculation, and obviously the group themselves and their associates know, but since 2000 everyone's kept quiet and no one's confirmed their identities. Given that the communities they're from are relatively small, and how easy it is to dox somebody nowadays, it's amazing that they've managed to remain completely anonymous to the public for the past 17 years. As their lack of identity suggests, they'd rather let their anti-music speak for itself. Stalag set out to make something that would invoke and increase feelings of hatred for life and humanity. They wanted real-life despair, real anguish, deep painful emotions being expressed in the most visceral, genuine and terrifying way. But how does one go about capturing the sound of true fear and pain? In a move that would ensure their notoriety and eventually enshrine them in that weird part of the internet forever, the group opted to employ the vocal skills of patients from a psychiatric hospital. From schizophrenics to anorexics to a man who had been in prison for brutally stabbing his mother to death, Stalag focused their anger, their psychosis, and their hatred for existence into a sonic assault that would test the tolerance of even the most experimental listener. For up to 3 hours at a time, these patients would be placed in a room or a space with microphones set up and told to summon all of their most negative emotions, really feel them and experience their raw power. While screeching sheets of harsh noise are played, the patients are encouraged to scream out their pain and suffering in an almost primal scream therapy-like fashion. Except, they've also got access to razor blades and knives with which to cut themselves. And they do. The microphones would record their primal howls as they threw themselves around violently, screaming out all of their pain and rage, soaked in blood and attacking each other at times. Some would weep loudly, their sobs of despair and hopelessness echoing through the space. Over the course of 3 albums and 1 video, Stalag would produce a series of works that would go down in history as some of the most horrifying and genuinely disturbing recordings of all time. In 2003, Stalag released Projectile. Originally recorded in 2000, this was intended to invoke true nihilism, a personal experience of the total meaninglessness of existence. It consisted of one 34-minute-long track, mixing the aforementioned tortured wails with layers of improvised bursts of buzzsaw guitars and blast beats. This, by most people's definition, is not music as we know it. It's ritual catharsis. Demons exercised in a bloodletting frenzy, all performed to a backdrop of harsh electronics and blended into a lo-fi soundscape. The patient who murdered his mother first features in this album and also contributed artwork to it. However, he was later tragically killed in a car crash at the age of 29. His manic drawings capture his mental state and his view of the world, becoming a symbol themselves for Stalag and their misanthropy-fueled agenda. Stalag teamed up with an artist calling himself Rigor Mortis in 2004 to produce a video later released on DVD-R for their next project. Over the course of 3 months, Mortis combined clips of death, war and famine with footage of suicides and self-immolation to create a suitably terror-inducing visual representation of what Stalag wanted to convey with their sounds. We see images of starved bodies, weird glitch artifacts and visual noise dissolving over corpses hanging from trees. It's all black and white, bleak and hopeless looking as the pictures flicker on and off, each instilling a sense of unease which gradually grows to full-blown anxiety and fear. This was essentially a remastering of the audio from the first 2 albums by a guy called Osman Arabi, a noise and black metal artist who also goes by the name of Zardas. In 2006, he took the original recordings and reworked the mix so that Stalag's message of misanthropy, nihilism and terror could hit harder and with more power. The music remains essentially the same in every recording, only varying in intensity and mood depending on what's being conveyed. In this case, the newly mastered versions take on a whole new dimension of pain and anguish with a clarity lacking in their lo-fi originals. With nihilistic terror, Stalag also introduced the art of Jeroen van Valkenburg, whose cold, dead-eyed faces seem to capture something about the nature of the group in a way that the previous artwork never really did. Referred to by the website Noisy as the most terrifying album of all time, Stalag's final proper release in 2007 really brings all of the previous albums together into one horrifying, dense, torturous listen. Over the course of 35 minutes, Stalag's hatred seeps through the speakers and pollutes the room. The screams seem even more inhuman. The weeping sounds like it comes from a pain that no human being should ever know, while the noise element washes in and out, almost suffocating the psychosis before drawing back to expose it in its rawest forms once again. There was one further release known as Pure Misanthropia, which, by all accounts, was a weak effort consisting of reused material and a noise layer stolen from Osman Arabi. The group themselves only acknowledged 3 releases, so we can disregard Pure Misanthropia in this video. Most people dismiss Stalag as a big hoax, or even a joke at the expense of elitist music fans, always wanting the most extreme and obscure stuff they can find. The music they produce has zero commercial appeal, and the majority of listeners couldn't tolerate more than a few minutes of it. Even if the whole shtick behind them turned out to be complete nonsense, the audio itself is just genuinely unsettling and it creates a vibe that most black metal or noise music alone simply can't come close to. There's just something a bit too real and sincere feeling, and not even sounding, just purely feeling, about the screams and the pain expressed in Stalag's work. A lot of extreme metal and experimental stuff has got screamed vocals, obviously, but this is something altogether different in its rawness and its lack of structure. Bands like Silencer had their vocals provided by a real-life mental patient, their singer Natram, who his pained howls and his shrieks, also inflicted while he was self-harming, are admittedly really unsettling. He also allegedly chased a group of kids with an axe before being forcibly confined to a locked ward, but I mean, their music was, in comparison to Stalag, pretty conventional. It's that sense of dread, that ominous atmosphere where the psychosis of its participants seems to be encroaching on your own senses. And that's what really sets Stalag apart. Their dense layers of lo-fi noise, muffled blast beats and barely audible guitar riffs, combined with those hellish screams, create an entire soundscape for a world where existence, as the group insist, truly is futile. After the release of Pure Misanthropia, Stalag disbanded the project without fanfare or drama. A year later, in 2009, they resurfaced under a new name, Gulag. Applying the same GH suffix in a similar worldview, they took the name of the forced labour camps found in communist Russia under Stalin and released their first album, Vorkuta, named after one of the more notorious of the Gulags. Opening with a sample of Stalin addressing the masses, Vorkuta proceeds to do what seemed to be impossible. It is even more disturbing, more unsettling, perhaps even more upsetting than any of the original Stalag albums. While the projects were filled with grown adults howling from their souls into the abyss, Vorkuta went further and used real children from another psychiatric hospital. Their screams are beyond terrifying. Young voices, shrill and panicked, shriek and moan, filling the last 10 minutes of the album to create a harrowing, intense and disturbing experience. On top of that, and yes, it does actually get worse, Gulag also specifically involves female victims of non-consensual violation who were encouraged to tap into their hatred for their attackers, their lust for revenge and their pain to produce some truly horrific nightmarish sounds from their bodies. The noises heard on this album are inhuman sounding. Even to somebody who's well versed in extreme content, these are real people in the real world expressing real pain and suffering. It's a hard album to listen to and ultimately leaves you with that same hollow feeling that seeing certain things online gives you. Musically, instead of noise and black metal, we get classical instruments, played freeform and pounding percussion and atonal assaults, but at this point, the musical side of things is meaningless as Stalag and Gulag have accomplished at least part of their original goals. And hearing the cries and the anger of abused children, as well as the hatred and the anguish of violated women, we're reminded of just how disgusting some human beings can be in their treatment of others. Gulag was supposed to release another 2 albums, Kolyma and Norilsk, involving vocal parts from deaf patients this time. Apparently their howling was more animalistic and chaotic as they've never heard their own voices, but neither album has surfaced as of 2017. The group themselves appear to have gone silent, so who knows what happened to them. Perhaps a one-time collaborator sought them out, believing himself to have been exploited and looking for revenge. Who knows? It must be added that, according to the group, the participants and or their caregivers provided written permission and knew what this project entailed. While ethically questionable and raising more than a few serious concerns, what Stalag and Gulag did with their material is something unique and morbidly fascinating. Whether you view it as art or exploitation of the sick, hearing their work is something you won't forget for a long, long time. I'll leave it to each of you to decide whether or not you believe the story behind this project, but one listen to the material should give you some indication of at least how you feel about it. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and have yourselves a suitably weird Halloween.